My name is Alex, and for the past 3 years, I've been what you might call a kept man. My wife, Olivia, comes from a wealthy family. When we first met, she was vibrant, passionate, and saw something in me that others didn't. I was just a regular guy, working a 9 to 5, with dreams that were more about personal fulfillment than financial gain. She found that refreshing. At least that's what she said. We got married, and I moved into her world. A world of sprawling mansions, luxury cars, and a social calendar booked months in advance. At first, it was intoxicating, but soon the gloss began to fade. Olivia's affection seemed to become conditional, tied to how well I played the part of the doting, handsome husband on her arm. The man she fell in love with, one with his own thoughts and dreams, slowly disappeared. I became an accessory. My days were empty. Olivia insisted I quit my job. "Why would you need to work, darling?" "We have everything," she'd say, waving a dismissive hand. So I stopped working. I tried to find hobbies, to write, to paint, but she'd belittle my efforts. "It's a cute little pastime," she'd coo, her tone laced with condescension. My friends drifted away, uncomfortable with the lavish lifestyle and the subtle, yet constant way Olivia would put me down in front of them. I was isolated, living in a golden cage. The worst part was the quiet contempt. In public, she was all smiles, her hand possessively on my arm. But in private, the mask would drop. She'd sigh dramatically if I expressed an opinion that differed from hers. She'd mock my simple tastes. "Still wearing that old watch?" "It's embarrassing, Alex." It didn't matter that my late father had given it to me. To her, it was just another sign that I didn't belong. I became a ghost in my own life. I'd wander the massive, silent halls of our home, feeling more like a butler than a husband. My only real companion was the head of our household staff, a kind older woman named Mrs. Gable. She saw the sadness in my eyes, the way I'd flinch when Olivia entered a room. She never said anything, but her sympathetic glances were a small comfort in my lonely existence. The breaking point came during Olivia's 30th birthday party. It was an extravagant affair, of course. Hundreds of guests, a live band, champagne flowing like water. She had been planning it for a year. That evening, she was in her element, flitting from group to group, basking in the attention. I stood by the bar, nursing a drink, feeling more invisible than ever. Then I overheard it. Olivia was talking to her circle of friends, her voice carrying across the music. "Oh, Alex," she said with a light, dismissive laugh. "He's my greatest charity project. Adorable, isn't he? Utterly dependent. It's like having a very handsome, well-behaved pet. He knows which side his bread is buttered on." The laughter from her friends was like a physical blow. A pet. That's what I was to her. The woman I had loved, the woman I had given up my life for, saw me as nothing more than a possession. In that moment, something inside me didn't just break, it hardened. The love I desperately clung to evaporated, replaced by a cold, quiet resolve. I didn't confront her. I didn't make a scene. That's not my style. I simply smiled, walked over to her, and wished her a happy birthday, kissing her on the cheek as her friends watched. She squeezed my arm, whispering, "There you are. Go mingle, darling. Don't just stand there looking lost." I nodded, but my mind was already racing, a plan beginning to form. A plan for my escape and my revenge. The first step was information. For 3 years, I had been completely oblivious to our finances. Olivia handled everything. I had a credit card with a generous limit, but I had no idea about the source of her wealth, the investments, the assets. It was all under the control of her father, a formidable man I rarely saw. So I started listening. I paid attention during their phone calls. I read documents left carelessly on her desk. I used my long, empty days to learn. I discovered her family's business was a massive corporation with various subsidiaries. I learned about their stocks, their properties, their offshore accounts. I was a quick study. The man Olivia thought was a simpleton was absorbing information like a sponge. My biggest breakthrough came from Mrs. Gable. One afternoon, as I was helping her in the garden, a rare moment of peace for me, I carefully brought up the subject of Olivia's father. Mrs. Gable, who had worked for the family for over 30 years, was a vault of knowledge. She told me about a private investment fund he had set up for Olivia, one that was separate from the main family fortune. It was her personal nest egg, and she was notoriously proud of how she managed it herself, often boasting to her father about her financial acumen. This was it. This was the key. It wasn't the family's money I was after. That was too big, too protected. But Olivia's personal fund, that was a different story. It was her pride and joy, the symbol of her supposed independence and cleverness. Taking that wouldn't just hurt her financially, it would shatter her ego. I needed help. I reconnected with an old friend from college, Mark. He was a tech genius, the kind of guy who could navigate the dark corners of the internet with ease. I met him in a small, out-of-the-way coffee shop, a world away from Olivia's polished life. I was nervous, but I laid it all out for him. The humiliation, the condescension, the pet comment. Mark listened, his expression growing more serious with every word. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "Man, I'm in. Nobody deserves that. What do you need?" Over the next few months, Mark and I worked in secret. During the day, I was the perfect docile husband. I'd go to the gym, have lunch at the club, and be home in time to greet Olivia with a smile. But my nights were spent on encrypted calls with Mark. He taught me about digital security, about transferring assets, about creating untraceable accounts. I used a burner phone and a laptop I kept hidden in the guest wing of the house, a place Olivia never went. I meticulously gathered all the login details for Olivia's personal fund. It wasn't easy. She had layers of security, but her arrogance was her weakness. Her passwords were all variations of her own name, her birthday, and the names of her favorite luxury brands. So predictable. So the plan was set for the anniversary of the day we met. It seemed fitting. A day that once symbolized a new beginning would now mark the end. The day before, I played my part to perfection. I took her to her favorite restaurant, bought her a diamond bracelet she'd been eyeing, and told her how much I loved her. She soaked it all up, completely oblivious. "You're so sweet, Alex," she said, tapping my cheek. "See, you've learned." That night, I couldn't sleep. I waited until I was sure she was in a deep slumber. Then I slipped out of bed and went to my hidden workstation. My heart was pounding in my chest. This was it. No turning back. With Mark on the line, guiding me through the final steps, I began the transfer. It was a complex process, moving the funds through a series of shell corporations and anonymous crypto wallets we had set up. Every click of the mouse felt deafening in the silence of the house. The entire fund, millions, gone, siphoned away into the digital ether, completely untraceable back to me. After the final transfer was confirmed, a wave of something I couldn't quite name washed over me. It wasn't just relief. It was liberation. I packed a single bag, my old watch, a few changes of clothes, and the burner laptop. I left everything else behind, the designer suits, the expensive shoes, the empty life. Before I left, I did one last thing. I went to our walk-in closet, a room the size of my old apartment. On her side, amongst the racks of couture dresses and designer handbags, I left a small, inexpensive dog collar. Tucked inside it was a single folded note. It read, "Good boy. Now go fetch." I walked out of that house and didn't look back. I drove through the night, the city lights shrinking in my rearview mirror. I met up with Mark, who had my new identity and passport ready. We split the money as agreed. He had more than earned it. The aftermath, I heard, was spectacular. Olivia woke up to find me gone. At first, she was probably just annoyed, but then she would have checked her accounts. The panic, the confusion, the dawning horror. I can almost picture her face. She would have called her father, screaming, hysterical. But there was nothing he could do. The money was gone, and so was I. The charity project had cashed out. They probably hired private investigators, but they were looking for Alex, the kept husband. That man no longer existed. I was someone else now, living a quiet life in a small coastal town on the other side of the world. I have a modest apartment, a part-time job at a local bookstore, and I spend my afternoons writing. I'm not rich anymore, not by Olivia's standards. But for the first time in years, I'm free. Sometimes I look at the old watch on my wrist, my father's watch. It's a reminder of who I was before all the money and the madness, and I smile. Olivia thought she owned me. She thought my silence was weakness, but she was wrong. My silence wasn't weakness, it was patience, it was observation. And in the end, it was my greatest weapon. She wanted a pet? She got one that learned all her tricks, and then ran away with the whole damn dog show.